Very few things beat a place perched up in a tree, whether it's to work, play, or in my case, just get away from my sister. And tree houses today are cooler than ever. You can choose from decked out decks to luxury chalets in the leaves. And building one, well, that's all part of the adventure. I'm here with Dan Wright, owner of Treetop Builders and Tree Whisperer extraordinaire. Dan, tell me what got you into building tree houses?
Well, I had a treehouse that my dad and my uncle built, and it was the best thing in the world to us. And then back in high school and college, I worked outdoors on ropes courses, zip lines, and climbing walls with kids. And then I ended up working as a carpenter after college and kind of put the two together. I picked up trees and became a certified arborist along the way.
How does that help you with building tree houses?
Well, the first step of building a treehouse is finding a good foundation, and it's not like a piece of lumber off the lumber rack. It's alive, it's growing, so you have to assess it as a living organism. So there's an element of engineering, it's got to be structurally stable, and there's an element of biology. So if there's anything unusual, there's always a reason why, and it's safety for the people up there, and then a tree-friendly style of construction. The fastening systems we use are custom-made for tree houses. They're much larger bolts than you would see off the shelf at a home improvement retailer. So the bolts we use most of the time for heavy loads are called tabs, or tree attachment bolt. And we have supported loads between 2,000 and about 20,000 pounds on one bolt. So the reason we use the bolts and brackets like we do is that it allows a space between the trunk and any wood or any parts.
Today, the crew's working on a train treehouse for Treehouse World, a theme park they're building from the branches up here in Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Treehouse World is our local, regional aspect of being able to bring ropes courses, adventure, zip lines, experiencing different tree houses. It's going to be for birthday parties and special events and our workshops where we teach people how to build tree houses themselves.
So if I'm a DIYer and I'm trying to do this myself, what are some of the tools that I'm going to need to build a tree house?
Well, you're going to need a slow torque drill, and then you can rent all of the bits through Treehouse supplies that you'll need. A table saw, a chop saw would probably be helpful, not completely necessary, but those things to be able to help you to make 45-degree angles when you're doing anything that's on a single tree.
What's the design process in that?
So a client will either call in or send in something on a contact form, and I reach back out to them, and if they're interested in a full tree house and not just the design process, then what I'll end up doing is I schedule a site visit with them, and I make sure that they either have a local arborist / tree company that they can work with, or I help them get one. So I'll show them ones that I've done before based on a similar tree layout. It helps them to be able to see different features on other tree houses to see whether or not, you know, that's something that they really want, or maybe they decided they're going to go in a different direction.
It's sort of an imagination-based thing, right? You like tree houses because they're an escape, and you can kind of create it into whatever it is that you want it to be, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, for my clients, I know that, you know, it's the parents or the grandparents that might be doing it for the kids or the grandchildren, but, you know, it's something that they've always wanted, right? It's that fantasy that they've always wanted to have in their life.
So let's talk about the fun parts, like accessories in the tree houses.
Oh, so we have all sorts of fabulous things that you can get. Cargo nets and rock walls, and when they're at about 8 or 10 feet high, which is the majority of the tree houses, you're doing either ladders with trap doors, or you're doing a rope ladder. And I've created entrances just for the kids, of course, where they can actually climb up a certain section of the tree and end up on the platform itself, and then there's a full set of stairs for the adults.
Is there an average timetable for a typical tree house?
There's not a lot of typical in custom tree houses, but I would say that most tree houses for a majority of our clients take about a week to 2 weeks.
One last tip before I go. It's always a good idea to make sure you check the roof, the floorboards, and the joints at least once a year, and especially after a storm. That way you can keep it safe and secure, and you can make your great escape whenever you want.